Joining us now, Republican Congressman, 9th District, Southwest Virginia from Salem, Morgan Griffith. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Good to be with you, as always.
Now, you heard the president's speech yesterday in the parliament of Iran, which they're 7 hours ahead of us, right? So this was actually today because the speech went on at 9 p.m. there. They were chanting "Death to America" in their parliament. What do you make of this whole thing, Congressman?
Well, look, Iran, since the fall of the Shah, has been an enemy of the United States. They hate the United States. They call us the Great Satan. They've been doing this for years. They're working on missiles that they already have missiles that can reach, or the technology for missiles that can reach Europe, and in large measure. They want to have intercontinental ballistic missiles. And all the deal did that Obama reached was delay their getting a nuclear warhead. It was a bad deal. Everybody recognized it was a bad deal. I thought Tom Garrett just did a fabulous job on your show of explaining a lot of the reasons that this was a bad deal and why even a lot of Democrats realized that when Trump wasn't president. And so, I'm not on the appropriate committees, and I'm not in the administration to get all the intel reports, but it was a bad deal for the United States to begin with. That's why it wasn't ratified, and it's a bad deal still. And so, I believe we have to trust the president's wisdom on this and move forward.
Well, look, I thought it was a great speech yesterday that the president made and laying out his vision for what he sees has to happen with Iran and, making some very serious allegations that they're producing an intercontinental ballistic missile, that he said the Israeli government has evidence that they were cheating and lying in the agreement and producing the makings of a potential nuclear bomb, which is against what the agreement has said. And he also said, look, they've gotten all this money from increased trade deals and from the $2 billion that we shipped over there in payment in cash, all the stuff they've done. And he said their military budget has gone up 40%. They've destabilized the region. They're exporting terrorism all over the Middle East. They're bad actors. They're liars. And they're a real problem. And he said, so why would we continue to fund this? It doesn't make any sense. Why would we fund it through allowing them to make money through trade and other things? So he's going to put the sanctions back on them. I think it was the right thing to do. But also, Congressman, he campaigned on this for 2 years. So the people that were saying that somehow he was going to change his mind and stay in the deal, which he said from the first day was worst deal ever, I think those people were delusional.
Well, it's amazing how upset people have gotten that President Trump is actually attempting to accomplish the things that he campaigned on, securing our southern border, dealing with countries in trade negotiations that don't play fair with the United States, dealing with Iran, dealing with North Korea. These are all things he said he was going to do. And shockingly, he's doing it, and that seems to have people on the left upset. He's doing what he said he was going to do.
Well, because in this town, Congressman, as you know, you just campaign and you say one thing and you get out of your district, you go to Washington, and then you do the opposite. I mean, it's been going on here forever, and the president trying to break that mold, and people are shocked when you actually do what you say you're going to do. We've got a lot more to talk about. I want to very briefly get to the President Trump's. This got no play yesterday when he announced it, but the president's historic rescissions package, so that everybody knows what this means, the president is sending a $15 billion rescissions package to Congress, which actually means that in the omnibus bill, I forget what that amount was, $1.1 trillion, the president wants to take $15 billion out of it, and this is different monies that are just sitting in accounts not being spent that don't make any sense. Like, just to give you an example, there's a railroad unemployment insurance extended benefits program that has $133 million sitting in it, and the program expired in 2012. So just dumb stuff like that. And he says he's going to send it to Congress. And do you see this passing? And is this a good approach with trying to cut money out of spending that we don't really need to spend, Congressman?
I do think it's a good approach, and we'll have to see what the final package has in it. But I know that one of the things they're looking at are some old CHIP accounts. And, of course, the Democrats, that's the child health insurance benefit. And, of course, the Democrats immediately seized on that. But we just did the longest, Republicans just did the longest reauthorization of CHIP, 10 years, that's ever been done. The Democrats never extended it that long. And this is money that's just sitting off in an account somewhere that cannot be used for other things. And I think the real opposition is that the Democrats want to spend that money somewhere else as opposed to, returning it to the American people.
Makes no sense. And, you look at the CHIP money, which is, I think, what is it? I forget the exact amount, $800 million or something. No, it's like $4.3 billion in it. But it's not you. It sits in an account, and you've already authorized CHIP going forward. So this other $4 billion is just sitting in an account for nothing, and it's only there in case it's not authorized and there's back payments. Well, you just authorize it for a decade, right? So it doesn't make any sense. The Democrats say, well, you're cutting the CHIP program. No, you just authorized it for a decade, and you've got money sitting in a CHIP rainy day fund, and it's there in case it's not reauthorized and there's back money to be paid out. That's why it's there, but you just authorized it. It makes no sense.
You're exactly right, and understand that what we anticipate the president is going to send us will actually leave some of the money there just in case. So he's taken most of it, but not all of it, just in case there's something that we've missed. But in reality, we've authorized it. It's set to go. And, we didn't get a lot of support from the Democrats in reauthorizing that. We had several things before the omnibus where we reauthorized it. We didn't get help from a lot of the Democrats. Some did. But it was interesting how the leadership opposed it because they wanted to say a Republican Congress couldn't get CHIP reauthorized. And we did.
I mean, it's just unbelievable, the lies that come out sometimes of the Capitol 2 blocks away. It's amazing. And I guess a lot of Democrats, when they say this stuff, I guess they figure Americans are just too lazy to research it. So they go on TV and they say, oh, the Republicans are trying to cut the CHIP program, when it's the Republicans that just expanded the CHIP program for a decade. And all
That's right.
This is money that's sitting in there that is in there in case it isn't expanded. I mean, it boggles the mind. All right, I want to get to the 6th District race. There's a congressional race in the 6th District for our new listeners that'll be decided in one of these crazy Republican conventions on May 19th in Harrisonburg, Virginia, at the James Madison University basketball arena. There was a big fight. There's a lot of cheating going on and all kinds of nonsense. There's 3 major candidates in it. Chad Haywood, he's the clerk of court from Harrisonburg, House of Delegates member and former House colleague of Morgan Griffith's Ben Klein, who we have in second place, and the favorite, still the favorite right now, Cynthia Dunbar, who's a state committee woman for Republican for Virginia. They kicked the media out. We made a big stink on social media, and now they have, in a deal, allowed us to get back in and have access to the floor. So that seems to be resolved. But that thing, Morgan, is a complete mess. And the shenanigans that have gone on there with changing the rules and not releasing the delegates to the other candidates favoring Cynthia Dunbar, and then kicking out the media so they could perhaps manipulate and cheat without any transparency. I mean, this is why Republicans can't win a statewide race in Virginia. It's this nonsense that keeps going on with these ridiculous conventions. And I, for one, was very disappointed that Cynthia Dunbar, who was the leading candidate there, didn't come out and take a stand on any of this stuff. It's almost like she was condoning it by not saying anything. What say you?
Well, I've had concerns from the beginning because I thought that as the national committee woman for Virginia that she should have taken the leave of absence or resigned from that position if she was going to seek a congressional race. You just had Tom Garrett on. He's got a race. I have a race. Every Republican in Congress is being contested. We're going to have a candidate for the United States Senate, and she's worrying about, dealing with the interior rules of the 6th District and look, if she's running, I don't blame her. She's calling everybody who's signed up to be a delegate and trying to get them to vote for her at the convention. That's what she ought to be doing as a candidate. No criticism there. But at the same time, she's not paying any attention to these elections that are coming up this year, where the fate of the House and the Senate are in the balance. And when she ran for National Committee Woman, she knew this was her job, was to make sure that at the national level, people are paying attention to the races in Virginia, et cetera, and she hasn't done that. And then since then, we've gotten all these interesting, at best, situations going on. You know, there's an allegation out there that's been filed with the Federal Elections Commission that says that she and the 6th District chairman were somehow colluding and trying to hide campaign money. Her numbers don't match up. She said apparently on her report, according to the Roanoke Times, that she had received $5,000 or more from the Ed Gillespie campaign, but Ed Gillespie only reported something like $1,800. There's just all kinds of questions there, but I think it's because she's trying to do two jobs at once, and in fairness, she's not doing the job as National Committee Woman, and she should have stepped aside when she decided to run. Every right for her to run. But, you know, she should have stepped aside. She hasn't done that. That was a mistake in judgment, in my opinion. And now there's evidence that there may have been other mistakes in judgment.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. We're with Republican Congressman from the 9th District of Virginia, that's Southwest Virginia, Morgan Griffith, one of the most pro-Trump red areas in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And he also goes right to the border of Tennessee, right through Salem, big district. So, Congressman, look, Cynthia Dunbar is a state committee woman. This is a critical time. She should be lobbying the National Republican Committee and the Congressional Campaign Committee to put more money into Virginia. She's not doing that because she's focused on her own race. She hasn't resigned. But is Morgan Griffith, are you going to come out and make an endorsement in this race?
I am not going to endorse. I have found that if I don't have a vote in a particular race, it's difficult for me to truly endorse. But I don't think it's any secret that I have worked with and known Ben Klein for many, many years. I know he's a solid conservative. I've already talked to him about joining the Freedom Caucus. You know, he'll have to make that decision, but I think he's inclined to do that when he gets to Washington. I know he wants to make a difference in Washington. I have nothing against Chaz. Chaz, I think, is a great guy, and then the others I don't know. I don't know Dunbar well, except that I've seen evidence that she has a lack of judgment when it comes to trying to figure out what's best to do for the Republicans to make sure we can win elections. And she has neglected all the other United States House races and the Senate race because she's doing this race in the 6th. It's her right to do the race in the 6th, but she should have stepped aside as National Committee Woman.
Well, I think you're right, and I'm very disappointed in Cynthia Dunbar because of the shenanigans that have gone on in this district. And I think, look, when you run for state committee woman, you have a higher responsibility. So I think you're right about that. I think she should have resigned. But even if she did want to resign, which she hasn't, she has to still represent the Republican Party of Virginia as a state committee woman. And I think being a party to all of the rigging that has gone on in this district that is designed to benefit her and blaming it on the Rules Committee. I mean, she controls all these people in there from the chairman, Scott Sayer, Scott the Rigger, on down. And, I mean, she stood idly by while they tried to change the rules, the nominating rules. She stood idly by when they gave her access to the delegate list before anybody else. She said nothing when they kicked out the media a week ago. They just kicked them out, kicked them to the third floor mezzanine so they would have no access to anybody, couldn't really broadcast anything live, kicked me out, kicked everybody out. And she said nothing until we had to put pressure on them to change that. I don't know how that kind of a person, I don't know how you send them to Congress. She's already demonstrated she's going to campaign for one job, abandon that, do another job. She's not going to be transparent. She's not going to be in favor of telling the truth about what's going on. And she's willing to be a party to rigging in order to further her own interest. How do you put somebody like that in the Congress? I don't know.
Well, you know, I don't get a vote in that, and you'll be there to see it. But the bottom line is it's up to the voters and the people who've signed up to be delegates, and everybody's got to show up and cast their vote, and hopefully we'll have a candidate who can win. there are serious concerns that, in a district that's the second most Republican district in the state, we could actually have a fight on our hands. And when the control of the House is in the balance, I think we ought to be nominating a candidate who, there's nobody questions it. You get either Chaz or Ben, and probably some of the others that I don't know.
Right.
They get the nomination, the race is over. We get to hold that seat. Cynthia, unfortunately, puts that seat into play because of some of her antics and the divisiveness that she's caused within the 6th, and because of some of her prior statements. It's not something that we need from a national level, because we need to have good conservatives elected, not just good conservatives nominated.
You're right. No question about it. And I've said this over and over. What is really more unfortunate about it is, has she simply said, I'm going to run for Congress, resign to state committee woman, put all of her effort and energy into winning this convention and not being a party, not being a part of any of the shenanigans, I think she would have won. I mean, I think she's got very capable people running her convention operation. Instead, she's mired in all this nonsense. And you're right, Congressman, if she gets the nomination, the 6th district, this is almost mind-boggling, but the 6th district of Virginia for the Democrats are in play, and they're going to get money, and we're going to have to defend it, and the whole thing's asinine. And she did this all to herself. Therefore, hopefully there'll be another nominee coming out of it. We'll find out. I'm certainly going, and you can tune me in from, I think we get on at 11 a.m. until whatever, so it should be an interesting day nonetheless. Congressman Morgan Griffith, thank you for being with us. Always appreciate your insight and your candor. Thank you.
Thank you.